WWE 2K20 is right around the corner, and I thought it'd be a great time to jump in and talk about WWE 2K20. The last WWE game that I bought, folks, was WWE 12, and that was because it was a soft kind of reboot for the WWE franchise at the time. But after that, I just felt like the series, the franchise, just kind of was going in the wrong direction. And my favorite still to this day is Here Comes the Pain. I mean, it's such a great game. It's so fun to play. And I think one of the reasons why that works so incredibly well is because it has that pick up and play nature. But in addition to that, I mean, everything just kind of flows so incredibly well in terms of gameplay. And not only that, but you have that addictive season mode that's still, they have not replicated since. But with WWE 2K20, I really hope one of the things that can be done here now that Ukes is sort of out of the question and now Visual Concepts is taking over, I hope that they address kind of the fundamentals of these wrestling games, because really honestly the worst part about these games is actually playing a match. Everything else is fine. The creation stuff, the story stuff, whatever else they got going on is kind of solid to say the least. At least it has been for WWE 2K17 and 2K18. But the actual core mechanics, the gameplay, the controls, and how the controls intertwine with what you're doing, that stuff needs to be streamlined. And maybe this is the game where that stuff finally gets addressed in a way that makes sense. It really needs to have that pick up and play nature, and it needs to have that control scheme that's addictive. Because you go back to Here Comes the Pain, and it wasn't, you had some time to kind of master the controls. It wasn't like you could pick it up and play and then be like, okay, I know everything that I need to do. But it just felt like it ticked in a way that made so much sense, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like, you pick up the PlayStation 2 controller, you kind of know what button is assigned to do what. Like L1 for a finisher, and Here Comes the Pain. And obviously it's still kind of simple like that in these WWE games, but I just feel like the controls have become so complex and overly sophisticated that it's not even fun anymore. And not to mention just kind of the nature of the gameplay. It feels so cumbersome. It feels so kind of robotic and stiff, and the animations don't play out, and there's hit detection issues, and there's clipping, and it's just, it's such a mess. And I hope, maybe not necessarily so here with WWE 2K20, but hopefully for the future, now that Visual Concepts has taken over, hopefully they can kind of go back to the drawing board at some point and maybe just start from scratch and kind of evolutionize, not evolutionize, but revolutionize this franchise, because it's in dire need of change, and then definitely change for the better. In terms of positive stuff, it seems like they are seemingly going to streamline some of that stuff that I just talked about. Maybe some of the controls are going to be streamlined. That would be a welcome addition, because I really do think they need to amplify just kind of the accessibility of these games. I think a lot of people are turned off by these games, especially now more so than ever, because it just is such a kind of slog, a chore to learn these controls, and like, oh, I have to hold this button down here to do this, or oh, that's a modifier, this and that. And I understand that not everyone wants like baby controls, but at the same time you have to kind of find that balance to cater to new players but veteran players as well. And maybe 2K20 is the answer to that. Maybe 2K20, we haven't seen gameplay yet as of this recording, so I am kind of jumping the gun, but maybe 2K20 is that game where they say, okay, look, we listened to the feedback, not that Ukes didn't, but Visual Concepts, now that they have kind of the shackles off, maybe they can do whatever they want to do, and hopefully that one of the things that Visual Concepts does more so than Ukes is they actually consider that feedback more so than ever. And the gameplay is something that does need to be addressed. I know people want GM mode. I know people want, these modes to return, like create a story and so on and so forth. I don't care about any of that stuff, because they already have cool modes in the game, the creation stuff, this, that, and the other. But the gameplay, the core mechanics, the controls, that stuff has to kind of fuse together, mend together in a way that makes sense more so than ever before. And I think that's one of the reasons why Here Comes the Pain was so successful, because it just worked. It just worked. And not only that, you had a lot of fun. I feel like so many people are coming away from these modern day WWE games and they're getting so frustrated at the controls and just at the gameplay, because it just feels broken. It just doesn't feel like it's quite there yet. But maybe 2K20 is going to be that step in the right direction. Of course, that remains to be seen. But, fingers crossed here that Visual Concepts can actually maybe start from a new place and go from there over the years, over the course of a few years, to really take this franchise from where it's at today to somewhere new, and hopefully that new place is in a better spot than where we're currently at. But maybe 2K20 again is that answer. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's 2K20.